Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kanchi Shah, and it gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all to the Work and Learn seamlessly from anywhere. Endpoints Unlocking Exponential Innovation webinar, brought to you by Dell Technologies, Intel, and Strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, cognitive technologies are the fastest growing area in modern computing today. Applications that previously required human intelligence, including data analytics, complex processing, statistical modeling, and visualizations, are now augmented by powerful machine learning algorithms, thus shortening the time between ideas and results. As digital transformation initiatives and the race to hypercompetitiveness accelerates, industry is demanding workstations that deliver the power to deploy and manage cognitive technology platforms, including machine learning, artificial intelligence, and deep learning. Dell Technologies, Intel, and Strategy are pleased to welcome to the webinar themed around Work and Learn Seamlessly from Anywhere, Endpoints Unlocking Exponential Innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, we request you to address your questions to our speakers using the Q&A option on your screen. We also request you to fill out the feedback form towards the end of today's webinar proceedings. Please feel free to mention any suggestions or recommendations that you have for us. This will help us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, today in our midst, we have very eminent business, IT, and technology leaders. And we're now going to go forward with the first segment on business modernization for the digital era. Our session is going to have inputs by Mr. Sumit Malhotra, Chief Information Officer and Head, Cloud Platform and Reliability at Times Internet. Mr. Dhaval Pandya, Corporate Chief Information Officer, Piramal Enterprises. They are in a conversation moderated by Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer, Strategy. Over to you, Arjun.
Hello and welcome. As digital transformation initiatives and the race to hypercompetitiveness accelerates, industry is demanding a modernization of pretty much everything that is associated with technology. And therefore, the rise of emergent technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning to be able to power organizations into the intelligent enterprises of the future. As Indian industry gears up to seize the opportunities this year in 2022, one that promises to be the year of acceleration, the moot concept perhaps that is running across industry and is the buzzword is modernization. And to talk to me about all of this, I have two very, very old friends, yet very, very eminent folks from within industry. Please put your hands together to welcome in no specific order, Dhaval Pandya, Corporate CIO for the Piramal Group. Dhaval, welcome, sir. Delighted and privileged as always.
It's always a pleasure, Arjun. Delighted to be with you.
And Sumit Malhotra, CIO for Times Internet Limited. Sumit, welcome. Equally delighted and privileged.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Lovely. Gentlemen, I'm going to directly jump into this. Dhaval, if I could come to you, if 2020 was the year of disruption and 2021 was pretty much the year of transition, 2022 promises to be the year of acceleration because of the learnings of the last 24 odd months. I mean, it's fairly poignant that we are 24 months almost to the date in 2020. Having looked at that, the need has specifically been felt around modernizing business models, modernizing and operationalizing strategies. But it's also true that technology plays a central role, or rather the plurality that technology enables you to achieve in terms of modernization is immense. What is your perspective on that? If you look at the learnings of the last 2 years and are also able to peer into the future to a certain degree.
So a very pertinent question, Arjun, and I think every organization is gazing at it to say that, okay, so if you look at it, I think it is in two parts. I think the first part was largely reactive, where it was kind of a punch in the face, and people were then trying to come back from it and say that, okay, how do I react to this situation? So a lot of industries, who used to work in the legacy way, I think they were the worst hit. Purely because the physicality of the entire operations went away. If you talk about the workforce, the entire workforce was confined within their homes, and they were yet expected to be able to deliver to what they would do when they were sitting in offices. And I'm not sure what if everyone was geared up to do that, because there are still companies, to the best of my knowledge, who, for example, allocate laptops by the grade of seniority, and not necessarily it's a function of the duties that they are discharging. So I think it was a wake up call for companies like those to be, who always had these big presentations on seeing that, okay, we need to possibly adopt a more open culture, or, a more flexible culture, a more equivocal kind of a culture. And they said that, okay, now this is reality. It's no longer a presentation. It has to happen. So that was the reactive part of things. And then I think maybe about a year or so into this particular wave, things started settling, where organizations were coming to grips with working in the newer way. And then they started thinking that, okay, it seems like this is here to stay in some shape, size, form. So how do we basically enable ourselves to be able to work with this situation and yet realize the benefits that we are wanting to achieve,
So true. So true.
right? So, and I think there were largely, if you look at it, the capabilities that people wanted to invest in were in two buckets: internal and external. External would be everything that the market sees, or what the external suppliers see, or every stakeholder that is outside the company boundary see. How do we collaborate better with them? How do we basically support their business model or gel our business model with them? Because largely world is moving towards an ecosystem driven business model. So it's no longer a case of me being digital and my ecosystem not being digital, because then it's a missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle. But it's largely as to say that, okay, how can we make it more seamless, and the world has seen the benefits of that the digital technology can deliver. The second, and I think the more complicated part, I would say, was the internal part, where it had to deal with stakeholders within the boundaries of the company. And this normally gets looked at functionally. And I think so. And again, if you were to take a jab at it, it would largely be operational and non-operational.
Operation.
So the operational aspects, especially for the manufacturing concern, was around, how do basically move towards a remote shop floor kind of a scenario, or remote manufacturing, a remote inspection, a remote delivery, or with the minimal possible human intervention kind of a scenario, where largely it is all integrated. And the second part is around the workforce that works in the support part. And I think this was the most trickiest part, which normally never sees the limelight of the day, but is always playing behind the curtains. So how do you enable this workforce to be able to support the operational aspect? So and then as we get into discussion, I think I will come to that point where then there were meaningful interventions identified for each of these stakeholders, with mapping their current state, and then saying that, okay, where do we want to take this for
Oh,
the
I couldn't
capability?
agree with you more, Dhaval, and thank you for bringing that up in such a supreme fashion. Sumit, it's quite so. What Dhaval said, I'm going to take that forward. It was really a punch in the face, and our first instinct was to be reactive. But now that we've had the last 2 years to kind of have it embedded in our collective consciousness, this hybrid workforce, in a manner of speaking, is pretty much here to stay. And therefore, the roles of organizational leaders such as yourselves is to also humanize the digital. What is your perspective on how organizations are approaching and perhaps should approach this whole concept of folks who are behind the curtains working remotely for various reasons, to be able to have the confidence, the flexibility, and yet the experience to be able to come in day after day virtually and deliver as an organization expects?
I think last 3 years, um, I think more so has been transformational for every company, and probably this year would be even a major shift. When we started in 2020, I think as my co-panelists said, there were companies who were caught off guard, in which they had to evolve. But I think the big thing is that even the companies who are really um, well placed, if you could call, they also had to evolve because their user were already at a level X, and he was demanding the similar level of services even at home. So, so I think the expectation of the people have largely grown over the period of time. And generally we see change or big changes being implemented um, once in 5 years in most companies. Even in like new age companies, you don't see like a continuous process of churn, despite especially in employee side, in which we are talking about employee experience person.
True.
Because otherwise, you will never be able to function. You are continuously in a process of agility, which and it does not reach a stability perspective. So
Correct.
from
It's
your
only
when you're talking
counterproductive at best.
yes. So, but strangely, in this is a this is the second time which we have to evolve and figure out a new way of working. And the biggest challenge for us is that uh, every company has a different employee experience which they want to embed or evolve in new culture, right? So, my company has a different cultural fit. Um, and earlier it used to be easy that somebody in the top will create guidelines and then everybody will follow, right? But now the new model is very, very specific to each employees or different teams. So, so in per se, let's say I have to create a hybrid model for my team. I just can't create, okay, this is a 10 thing which you need to do. If you qualify among these 10 parameters, you can work, let's say, 5 days a week from home, no problem. And if you do not, you have to come 5 days a week to office. And if you're somewhere in between, you can spend like 3 days in office and 2 days home. Now, the challenge here is that how do you define that rule book? Because when you're working remotely, you want to make sure the productivity of the employee is does not get impacted. Now, while you're trying to make sure the employee productivity does not get impacted, you're fighting with retention of the workforce itself. Like there are so many big challenges, especially in the tech space, in retaining good talent. Now you don't want to alienate good people either.
Of
But
course.
if you only support a select group of people, you end up alienating the large group, which might not be the best performing or the top performing talent, but you want to make sure you provide equal opportunity to everyone, right? So creating this rule book is like a nightmare. I think it's not something which you can, as a leader, can create. I think it has to be a collaborative structure in which you empower your employees to create a rule book themselves and then keep a watch to ensure that um, it's not being a bias. They are not promoting any bias within the company, and it's very tricky because for many organizations, especially who actually have been a traditional leadership space in which they used to be governed by top,
Of
and
course.
moving completely into a different model in which you have to embrace servant leadership, right? So it's a completely two different space, and nobody is saying that one method is better than the other. But now the challenge is that while we were having problems in adapting one leadership style, now we have to amalgamate the two and then figure out the best.
No, I
Now,
couldn't agree with you more, Sumit, because I'm just going to, I just struck a very poignant point in my mind. Dhaval, over the last 2 years, this word resilience has entered the lexicon in a fairly decent degree. Isn't it also true that the decision making, anyways, was always, uh, well, quite the process within organization, but in a post disruption kind of a reality? Organizations, I feel, or at least as observant, continue to rely on intelligence to be able to power resilience to a large degree, so that they're making more active and educated decisions based on data rather than gut. Now, with a distributed kind of a workforce where there's tons of data sitting in various places across the country or perhaps across the world, does that add to the conundrum of being able to create a seamless structure of experience and modernization? And does that compound that facet for CIOs?
So I think with this entire concept of work from not just home, work from anywhere
Anywhere.
that we are talking about here, two things have really come out to the fore. I think one is remote workforce productivity, and the other is remote workforce engagement. And I think somewhere you see a completely new array of technology and tools coming to the fore, which somewhere embed this as a core offering to say that, okay, this will allow you to be able to work in a hybrid model today, where for example, things like while telepresence may be a stretch, but there are enough and more augmented solutions available today, which will give you a look, feel of sitting right across the table and work in a seamless manner. Just exchange notes, exchange documents, talk in a manner that is, and draw transcripts and things like those. So so there are again three aspects to this. I would say, Arjun, while you're talking about modernization, I think a modernization alone on the technology front will not help you.
Not
It
help
will
you.
have to
Sure.
be modernization in the processes. For example, if you before the pandemic, if you took about 10 steps to do an approval and then hit the market, would you want to retain that, or you are willing to relook at it basis certain data or data points available, which will say that okay, possibly 5 steps of these are redundant, and these are normally just a tick in the box, and they anyways you will just approve it when it comes to your desk. Does it make sense to provide that auto approval there? So that, and these kind of decisions can only be driven if you have data to support, to say that okay, about 95% of the cases go through the green channel and only 5%, so then you are approving by exception.
I have a question there, with your permission, to you, Dhaval. In fact, do you feel that decision making has, to a certain degree, been democratized to, you know, sections of the organization which are, well, slightly junior in nature as compared to when traditionally we used to be in offices?
Absolutely. So, and I think it is not, so they started even before the pandemic. I think it started with the digital transformation or with the new age companies which are digital first. So if you talk about, for example, the radio cabs, or you talk about the marketplaces, uh, if you complain to them, they have their ways of finding how genuine the complaint is,
True.
and then it gets settled on the call. Vis-a-vis, if you look at the older way of working, you would have to first provide an invoice, you would have to provide a proof of purchase, a date, provide evidence, physically do about 3 rounds to the service center and then sort it. I think these companies have completely changed the game, and it is, in the true sense, it is employee empowerment, where a person
Absolutely.
who's sitting across on the other side of the line is talking to you, and he is empowered to be able to solve your complaint then and there to your satisfaction. So I think definitely, and it is not possible so they are not just blindly approving everything, right? They
Of
have their
course.
ways and means of checking as to what's genuine and what's not. For example, they will look at the customer lifetime value, they will look at your
Absolutely.
average order value, they will look at your frequency of ordering, recency of ordering, the monetary aspects of ordering. What is your propensity to be able to, they will take images from you and draw conclusions from those images, to be able to say that okay, is this a real damage or it is not a real damage, is this something that can be settled, can't be settled. So it's not possible without technology augmenting the human decision making. So that's where we are not saying that okay, if you just do away with the human decision making. It's about co-working, it's about how do you supplement the process which is already in place to be able to work faster and in an agile manner. So it's a
Absolutely.
reality, it's happening, and I think it is slowly. So today, if a Uber settled your complaint on the call and you had a complaint elsewhere, that is what you will expect, that your complaint
Absolutely.
again gets settled on the call, and it's not possible without two things: data and empowerment. So
I
I
couldn't
think
agree
that's
more. And I'm going to bring a third angle into this, Sumit. Uh, Dhaval just spoke about empowerment of the employee, which is obviously an evolution of maturity within organizations. He obviously spoke about data, which is the cardinal truth. Now, to converge employee empowerment and data in a remote kind of a work ecosystem, how important do you feel this humble workstation, this humble sentinel, the laptop or the workstation, becoming more powerful as the months and the years go by, is to the convergence of empowerment and intelligence?
I think one of the biggest thing which has happened in last few years is evolution of SaaS platforms. Um, so earlier, when somebody has to drive a transformation, uh, that they used to buy a big rack of servers and do, order somebody to develop the software, and they develop the software and do a lot of things. I think with the evolution of the SaaS platforms, um, they have enabled people to go at a fast, like really fast pace. Like the only limitation right now is to figure out how they can sell it to their employees. Right? It's about proving the business value of the solution and selling it to employees. Uh, the The advantage, there are many such as platforms which work in the background, which does not even require selling to the employees, which also work really wonderfully well because nobody asks or objects to a change if he doesn't know. So I think those changes are easier to. But even if you're trying to push a change which is complex in nature, um, implementing them require proving the business value, right? I think
Of course.
creating that business value and putting it on the table is very, very important. And when you are working remotely and you're trying to tell or train people, I think that's one of the biggest challenge. And while there are many SaaS platforms which are available, but I think it's important for us to sell those platforms, what they're going to bring it to the table for that employee uh, before implementing it in the across the company. I think it demands people for us to communicate way more than what we were doing pre-pandemic. It demands us to listen way more than what we were doing pre-pandemic. It demands us to implement in a better planned manner,
Of
what
course.
we
Of course.
implement in stages as opposed to doing the way we were doing earlier. So it demands a lot more. I think there are platforms which are available which enable us to do it. It's about implementing them in a fit, in a cultural fit for the company. That's what I was.
I couldn't agree more because Dhaval, since the moot word here in Sumit's articulation was demand, increasingly a new generation of employees, a new generation of gig economy workers are not just expectant, but are also demanding higher levels of experience in their interactions with enterprises and organizations and institutions. By that measure, do you feel that considering that the first interaction of the organization with an employee or a contract worker is through the medium of technology, which is a laptop or the desktop that one has, do you therefore feel that a superior powered, powerful laptop or a workstation, which is infused with capabilities that Sumit articulated of, you know, inbuilt and embedded AI and machine learning features, is directly proportional to the following three things. One, the experience of the employee. Two, the ability of the employee as to be able to enhance their productivities and deliver far more. And last but not the least, their ability to be far more innovative than perhaps we were about 5, 6 years back.
So I wouldn't say it's a straight fit, Arjun, because it has to be horses for courses, right?
Absolutely.
You have different grades of workplaces, and I'm a firm believer that the instrument that you get to discharge your responsibilities has to be in line with the complexity of the responsibilities that you
Absolutely.
discharge. So to your first point, whether it will give a better experience. So if I were to get a very swanky high-end machine, obviously it has a feel-good factor to it, right? The question to be asked is that do I really need it? Because there, like Sumit mentioned, there has to be a business case to it, and and everything comes at a cost, no matter how big or large that is, and it all aggregates importantly. That is the first part. The second part is with technology and with devices, what you see is that they become obsolete reasonably faster. So what is your investment appetite towards it is something that needs to get evaluated better. Second is that if this tool really helps me work better, which was your second point, there is definitely a direct business case for it. For example, it works better with the technologies that I largely deal with on a day in, day out basis. It helps me work faster and in a smarter manner. And it somewhere provides me the insights which possibly the age old machine was not providing me. Then that's a case. And I would like to add an aspect to what you said is that of security, which is extremely important today. Is it a more secure device by design, and does it work in a seamless manner with the applications in a secure fashion? Then that becomes a very good selling point. And to your third point, if for example the work complexity demands that I need X grade of a machine, which inherently has AI and ML kind of capabilities, the output that it gives me has to be, for example, intelligent. Can it tell me to work in a better manner rather than just monitoring the way I'm working? If the insight is relevant, Yes, there is a case for it, but the other side of thing is the how do you actually, would you want to deploy this at scale? For example, there is a lot of investments happening today in the VDI kind of technologies
Right.
where a lot of complexity and the brains relies elsewhere, and you are only using a headless or a kind of an architecture to be able to connect to it
Absolutely.
and utilize those capabilities.
True.
The third is a deployment part of it. For example, if you do something like a remote connectivity, it helps you in something like a distributed computing where there is a lot of computing power available and you're only deploying as per usage. There is a lot of capability in AI and ML available, but you're only deploying as per the usage. So I think that is a more compelling case
That's
rather
true.
than, but yes, the device that is in the hands, because every magician will tell you that the best magic is one that happens in the hands of the spectator, right? So if so, there is definitely a case there. But it needs to be very carefully evaluated because it's very easy to get carried away by saying that okay, I want to provide the best experience.
Yeah, but there's also got to be fiscal prudence.
Yes, there needs to be a very strong angle of prudence to it. And today, if you look at it, I think if you ask employees of the world that, here's God, ask your three wishes that you want. He'll say that, okay, I want I want a particular salary, I want a particular work profile, and I want the flexibility to be able to work. And fortunately, unfortunately, all three of them are a reality today, right?
So
So,
true.
so how does that then gel with, because you somewhere have to take care of your employees also, but at the same time, you have to tread carefully because you are setting a precedent.
Right.
We need to understand that once you walk a particular mile, you only have to walk further from there. You
No,
really
very
can't come back from there, because then that creates a that's not good. Yeah.
no, couldn't agree more. But Sumit, coming to you, see one of the requirements or expectations that organizations tend to have today in their race towards hyper differentiation, hyper competitiveness, is also the ability to enhance the rate of or rate of innovation or accelerate the rate of innovation. The similar question to you is: does the client or the endpoint that I work with, if that were to be smarter, does it act as a natural catalyst for collaborative teams to be able to innovate more and therefore achieve more? Do you think there's some correlation there?
I think it all comes to motivation. What motivates your employees, and whether it's worth it or not. Like there are companies who give everyone a Mac, and there are companies who gives everyone Windows laptops. There's a difference between the cost of these laptops. Some to the function of 4x, right? So if there's a now one can contemplate and say, okay, maybe they can afford it and they want a better employee experience. They want to keep them happy. Is probably one of the reasons. But I think I object and say my view is that I think why are they just going to a laptop worth, let's say, 2 lakh rupees? Why don't they go to a laptop worth 10 lakh rupees? That's also available in the market, right? So everybody has to draw a line to what extent they are okay in giving flexibility. And
But you're not making a distinction or deviating from or violently disagreeing with the fact that a significantly better machine will certainly allow me to achieve more.
it does, but let's say if your work is only on a browser,
Of course.
how does it matter whether you work on a
But we
laptop or have a
classically talk about fairly complex jobs, other
so
than
that's so you just gave an answer, right? So it depends on what kind of job you're doing, right? So it's if you have a specific role profile which demands a Mac machine, you should be given a Mac machine. And if you are, let's say, if I per se is more productive on a Mac machine because I probably worked on Mac all my life, not on Windows, I would, and if I switch to a company B, and that company B, I might demand a Mac. So if that company does not give me flexibility, it actually pushing my productivity way down than what I would be, right? So it's all comes down to enabling people to do better, right? In the end, that's what every company wants. Everybody wants to make sure their employee productivity grows, does not get reduced. And
and carry on, please, please. Why don't you
simpler
complete?
way is to give everybody like all the tools, but that's actually a wastage. It also creates a negative experience in a way in which a junior employee who does not even need those resources starts to use it for a different purposes, which is not good for the company. So there are negative sides to it as well. So I think the best way is to do it based on role, empower them, give a little bit flexibility. You should not draw a line which is very, very hard. You should be probably flexible. But I think it should the framework which you by which you decide which which employee gets which kind of laptop. It should be transparent. People should know why they're getting Windows, and if they want a deviation, what is the process? Maybe I'm on an employee role which only can give me a laptop X, but I can be better productive on X2. There should be a method to go an X2 model with an exception approval. But
Or a
as
business
long as
case.
those exceptions and it's built in the process, everybody is okay. If you just start creating bias, then it becomes a problem.
No, I think I couldn't agree with you, both of you, more, because clearly what it transpires and what is clearly evident is that across sectors, the ability for endpoints to cater to a wide spectrum of complex issues ranging from whether it's healthcare, energy, manufacturing, media and entertainment, e-commerce. The future will belong perhaps to cognitive machines that promise everything from solving to, well, perhaps predictive insights. But gentlemen, I do realize that you folks have schedules ahead, and I do have a view on the clock. It has been delightful. This is clearly, and especially with friends, a conversation that we could continue for ends together. But all good things must necessarily come to an end. Zawal, Sumit, I am deeply, deeply grateful for you having taken out time to join us today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot, Arjun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And for the audience, that was I in conversation with Dhaval Pandya and Sumit Malhotra from the Piramal Group and Times Internet Limited, respectively. That's all in this segment. Stay tuned with us, and we'll be back with the next segment in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Sumit, Raval, and Arjun for the very encouraging and engaging discussion. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, is our fireside chat with the success in Spotlight. And to address this, I'm now going to welcome Mr. Vivek Malhotra, Senior Director, Direct Sales at Dell Technologies. He is in a conversation with Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer, Strategy.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Arjun Vishwanathan, and I'm going to be in conversation and to essentially take the conversation of client modernization and the inflection of business strategy and technology forward with a very, very eminent gentleman from within industry. Please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Vivek Malhotra, Senior Director, Direct Sales, Dell Technologies. Vivek, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time out.
Hey, thanks, Arjun. How you been doing? And
Very,
how was
very
working?
well. A little more boisterous than one at this age would perhaps want to look at. But thank you so much for joining us, sir, because we've got an interesting journey ahead, and I intend to put it to full use. Vivek, increasingly, if the last 2 years have given us immense learnings around the concepts of modernization, and with the establishment of, well, a fair establishment of a distributed or a hybrid workspace, how important does the whole concept of technology modernization and within it, client modernization play today more than ever before?
Interesting. That's very interesting, Arjun. A hybrid workplace, like you rightly said, is already in and is going to be there for some time, some long time that we see in the next couple of years as we move ahead. Okay, this is no longer. It's much more than buying a product. It's about basically giving an experience to the customers, giving an experience to the end users. So what does it mean? It means a couple of things. It means being able to give the right device with the right software to the customer or to the user, because that user is going to give you the productivity for your organization, for your organization's growth. So when you give him the product, that product should be a simple in deployment product, a product which can be deployed very, very simply without creating too much of problems for him, which basically means things like single sign-on, ready on a click of a button, and so on. All of these features should be embedded and built on into the product. The support that you provide as this product is being used by the customer, by the user. Okay, the support should be very, very efficient. He should be able to continuously be operational and not have even a little bit of downtime. Okay, so efficient support mechanism, efficient mechanisms to manage all that is there sitting inside that device, all that is there which is sitting inside their device, and to provide him all of this in a secure environment where the data that is there residing on the device is very, very secure, and he is very confident that this data goes nowhere or it is very heavily protected. And all of this, if we provide to the customer or the user, we have a much more stronger and a productive employee.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Vivek, because I particularly like the word that you use, the operative word being experience. Increasingly in a distributed or a hybrid workspace, as it were, a new generation of employees and contract staff from the gig economy, such as are brought in for the talent and the skills that they bring to the table, also demand experience. In that sense of the word, do more powerful machines, especially the ones embedded with artificial intelligence and machine learning at their underlying software layer, essentially help lend towards driving more employee experience today than before?
Absolutely. They demand not only a good experience, they also demand speed. Speed is of essence in this journey. Speed is of serious essence, which is why the, the product itself and along with the AI ML tools, okay, where you are able to crunch the data and able to throw business outcomes or insights at a much faster pace than ever before. For the increasing growth of the organizations. Organizations in the last few years have grown significantly. And as time comes by, the growth is only going to grow up. And some testimony of this is the stock market. Stock market crossed 60,000. Stock market crossed 60,000. Okay, what does that mean? There's a huge amount of data which is getting produced. Okay, and that data is being put to the right amount of use. Okay, and ensuring that that entire data is secure. Okay, and you are providing them products which ensure that the customer data is secure. It doesn't go down at any given particular point in time. You call about look at stuff like hard disk failures or predictive failures of hard disks. You should be able to pick up on that. Okay, drive a better outcome in this direction. So some of these, as you move ahead in the AI and ML story, do make a significant difference. And if the employee or the customer gets a significant speed in his entire way of working, that would make a serious difference. Research says that upwards of around 30 to 35% of improvement on employee productivity has happened because of this.
Oh, brilliantly articulated, Vivek, because another point that I also will, which is quite manifest in observation, is the whole fact that the role of technology is in a sense of the word to bring about a convergence of technology and human capital to forge a digital native fabric within the organization. In that sense, how do you see powerful endpoints today being able to endeavor to achieve that convergence of technology and human capital to power strategic business interests, which are incremental value outcomes, an acceleration of the rate of innovation, and of course, productivity, hyper competitiveness, and innovation?
Arjun, operations have been reinvented. Workforce has been transformed. New ways of engaging of customers with customers have emerged. Everything is new. It's about new. Okay, so you're talking about new way of operating in the market. You're talking about new workforce with the new methodology of working and new ways of engaging with the customers. CXOs agrees that the employees have never been more engaged with the customers in the hybrid environment. Okay, they've never been more engaged with the customers than now. Innovation takes you towards a much better and a much stronger customer experience. Change is inevitable, and those who embrace change make a difference. IT no longer continues to be a support function. Technology now is a part and parcel. Heard many times, it's a part and parcel of a boardroom conversation. And it's a serious one. It helps you prepare for the future. I don't know if I answered all your points.
No, of course you did, which is why I bring about a complementary question, which is really that when you look at this overall endpoint modernization, the preceding segment to the one that I'm having, a fairly considered set of articulation, which is essentially that while everybody and organizations realize the impact, the power of what powerful endpoints that are infused with artificial intelligence and machine learning can do, it is perhaps not fiscally possible or prudent to enable or allocate such powerful endpoints to everybody because of the cost consideration or the fiscal consideration.
Absolutely.
My question to you is, how do you at Dell Technologies build on this narrative in a consultative approach to help these organizations realize
Okay.
value?
Okay, this one is a very close one to my heart. Okay, because the TCO conversation has been a conversation which sits on the desk of a CIO, it sits on the desk of the CFO, and everybody wants to drive the cost down. Okay, people say that, look, hey, we've moved from desktops onto laptops. Is that not enough? Now, I'm fairly confident that your shareholders demand for more profits, more returns. Each one of them has that logo which is there in their mind. I'm making an investment here. Ye dil mange more. I need more return for my buck which I'm investing into you. And what does that basically mean? In an environment where you are giving a strong, good endpoint device to your employee, and you are going to get a 40 to 50% improved performance because of the tools that you're going to provide him. What are we talking about? We are talking about an incremental 2.5 to 3,000 rupees of investment per month, per person.
The arithmetic would say so.
That's what we are talking about. But if that gives you a similar sort of return on investment with a better productivity for your employee and a better product experience, is that not worth it?
Interesting.
I've had a conversation with a few CIOs. They tend to agree, but it's not an easy conversation.
It isn't.
It's
It
a
isn't.
conversation which means that you need to go and stick your neck out. And I strongly encourage some of my friends that stick your neck out, guys. Make that difference for yourself. Make that difference for your organization. World would be different tomorrow.
But
Work for
Vivek, the allocation of endpoints become more logical. In fact, that they become more, they have become more aligned to the roles, the responsibilities, and the accountabilities of the activities that I will perform. How does this argument of powerful workstations, where it will cost you an incremental X per month more, kind of balance itself out with the overall cost optimization that's running around within industries?
Okay, so a lot of them turn around and say that we used to use desktops and we have moved over to laptops.
True.
COVID
That's-
made you do that. Did you do that on your own?
No, I think by that measure, it was a very perverse natural catalyst.
COVID made you do that. It's the pandemic which made you do that. What is that you're doing on your own? How are you making it different for yourself, for your employees, and for your customers? Have you experimented it? Have you experimented with a set of people and seen whether it makes a difference or not? My sense, my understanding, on an overall basis, if one was to measure against the productivity that the employee would turn around with a much more powerful machine, which is powered with AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, with being continuously available, not giving you challenges and problems.
Of course.
Okay, you would work towards solving this problem a lot more. Okay, one needs to do that research. One needs to get into that activity, but it's money well spent. It's money well spent, and people normally tend to go away from this conversation. I would strongly encourage that. I'm more than happy to get into many such conversations. I am already into a few conversations, and they are in the right direction, and they do make a difference.
Then Vivek, by that measure, could I request you to articulate in such supreme fashion that you are, Dell Technology, in your ability to help organizations build a journey of endpoint modernization and to be able to, if not mathematically, at least broadly, quantify the long-term business impact?
Some areas I'll touch upon.
Of course.
You get 30% saving, 30 to 35% saving on PC lifecycle management. Okay, you provide deployment with zero touch. Okay, you reduce the deployment time significantly. You reduce the downtime significantly. So if you look at it on a cost of ownership on a period of 3 to 5 years, depending on what's your organizational policy, my sense is the returns would be much more stronger than the investment made.
But beyond the cost argument, I do know that you're at the forefront of fairly cutting edge technology at Dell Technologies. Are you also able to qualify or quantify the other business impact, which is essentially the enhancement of the incremental productivity, the ability to actually,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's take a few examples, few
indeed,
horizontal examples and few industry examples. Okay. This is a function of being able to pick up data real time, crunch the data, and demonstrate the output then and there to the customers and to your own board in the manufacturing industry in specific. In the manufacturing industry in specific, IoTs are the in thing today. Connecting, picking up data from there, getting it onto your laptop, and being able to turn around and give a response back to the organization on a real time basis is something which makes a difference. These are the tools. This product or the workstations basically help you cater to that. In marketing, it could be utilization of virtual reality for a better product launch.
of course.
Okay. From there, if I take you into the BFSI
Even in
industry,
training.
sorry,
Indeed, I said even in training, virtual reality and obviously
you
powerful
said it,
endpoint.
even in training, absolutely. From there, if you get into the BFSI industry, okay, fraud prevention and fraud detection. Okay, you need to be able to pick up, see data and crunch data and be able to see whether you're investing into the right customer or not investing into the right customer.
So
And
true.
lastly, in the pharma industry, where there are multiples, hundreds and hundreds of permutations and combinations happening while you are trying to invent a drug, pandemic was a testimony.
Of course it was.
We had the vaccine come out in less than 12 months. We've never ever seen vaccine come out in less than 12 months ever.
You're right.
Vaccine coming out has been a journey of 8 to 10 years.
Indeed. Historically
We've
proven.
that time, and all of us today, wave one, wave two, wave three, all of them have got over. Pandemic seems to be behind us.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Vivek. I think that's very powerfully articulated because I do have a view on the clock. I know you've got a hard schedule ahead. Vivek, as you look at the past from the rear view mirror and as you look at the windshield and you peer into the future, what and this wonderful audience that's tuning in today would also like to know what is the innovation at over the next few years into its rightful place under the sun in terms of being able to achieve everything that Indian industry wishes to at a global scale?
If you look at the workstation range of products that we offer, the tools that they come in with at this particular point in time, to give you an example, they come in with an AI tool called Dell Optimizer, which helps you optimize applications across board and gives you the right performance for the product. Not only does it do that, it goes a step further in terms of ensuring that the entire product is well utilized, and at any given point in time, if the machine detects that there's some failure going to happen, that failure is, you get to know of it a little ahead in time and you're able to ensure that your downtime is not there. So as we continue to keep moving ahead, okay, these technological developments are going to only continue to improve, and they're going to ensure that customers will get a lot more for less.
Wonderful, Vivek. And in conclusion, if I were to look at the man behind the technology, we've had, like you rightly said, we've had a trying 2 years. But is there one personal or maybe professional learning that's come to you that's going to stick with you for a long, long time to come? Something that you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh, there's an interesting one there. It's basically the growth mindset. Never look back. Okay, and I do talk a lot on this subject, and honestly, I'll say that every single failure has to be a learning opportunity, and every single success has to drive you towards more. So as long as one has a growth mindset and can drive towards that at the backdrop, nothing to beat.
Thank you so much, Vivek. It has truly been delightful speaking with you and having this dialogue and understanding your views, especially the ones around the quantification of the benefits or the fiscal benefits of endpoint modernization, especially with Dell Technologies, those powerful machines. Thank you so much for taking out time to join us today, Vivek. We are supremely grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that was I in conversation with Vivek Malhotra from Dell Technologies. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you, Vivek and Arjun, for that immensely enriching and insightful conversation. With that, Ladies and gentlemen, we'd now like to play a short video on your screens. This one is on how to choose the right device.
Reimagining endpoints. The way in which organizations empower employees across the devices they use every day is changing rapidly. As companies focus on delivering consistent, unifying, secure, and transformative experiences for employees. To balance between scenarios such as hybrid and remote work, frontline workers, data privacy norms, and zero trust security, it's only fair to say that your endpoint is the new workplace. Here are a few guiding points towards reimagining endpoint ecosystem by choosing the right device. Number 1. Shortlist the most important range of features that your business uses regularly. Portability. Common applications to be used by most workers or executives. Battery life. Security features. Embedded AI/ML capabilities. Processor clock speed. Storage capacity. And budget. 2. Mobility is a key consideration to allow a remote workforce to access files or data and work from anywhere and respond in a nimble fashion. 3. Speed and performance. The more CPU processing power available, the faster your computer or hardware device can work, allowing you to complete more complicated tasks and handle larger workloads. 4. Storage capacity. Storage and memory describe the amount of information that a device can store for you to access and use. And number 5. Budget is an important consideration for any business. But don't just hunt for the lowest price. First, evaluate the needs listed above, then opt for the best value within that set of qualifications. Be sure to do your research and buy from a reputable brand with great product innovation and warranty or after-sales support, so your investment is protected.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your attention. With that, it's a wrap. I hope you found the work and learn seamlessly from anywhere. Endpoints Unlocking Exponential Innovation webinar, informative and useful. Thank you very much again, everybody, for joining us today. I thank you on behalf of Dell Technologies, Intel, and Strategy. I would request you to please take a few moments of your time and fill in the feedback form. We'd love to hear your suggestions and recommendations as this helps us enhance the delivery, content, and structure of our conferences. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to welcoming you at our upcoming conferences and webinars. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your day.